You ever had one of those mornings where the mud on your boots is thicker than the patience in your chest? Because that's where I was standing at the edge of my own farm, holding a citation for 15 grand in fines, all for violations that don't even exist, while the smell of diesel manure and fresh-picked tomatoes hung in the air, apparently too earthy for the delicate sensibilities of the woman who'd moved in next door. You want to know the definition of entitled? It's watching someone call 911 on your family's farm, like it's some crime scene just because they can't stand the reality of rural living. That woman, Vivian Blackwood, 50-something, fresh from a divorce in a settlement big enough to buy 5 acres of Pennsylvania countryside, showed up in a BMW whiter than an aspirin designer heels, sinking in the gravel like she'd never seen dirt outside a country club. First week, she brought over cookies, store-bought price tags still on the bottom, which killed me, and stood in my kitchen with that kind of smile you only see on TV anchors, or people about to file a complaint telling me how excited she was to join rural life. She said the word like it was French, talking about her vision of a proper countryside retreat, meaning she wanted the Instagram version of farming, none of the noise, none of the mess, none of the real. Now I'm Reed Hartwell, third generation on this land, 40 acres my granddad bought after coming home from the war. He built it up from a struggling dairy to one of the best organic vegetable farms in the county, and we run it the way he did with strong coffee dirt under our nails and the kind of work ethic you don't learn from a YouTube video. After my wife passed, it's been just me and my daughter Sage, 16 years old, sharp as a tack, stubborn as a mule, up before dawn, every day, loading up the truck, listening for the school bus, living a rhythm as old as sunrise. It wasn't a week before Vivian started her campaign. First, a note about the rooster crowing at 6 noise ordinances, she said, as if roosters checked the county code before they crow. Then she's calling about water runoff, claiming it was contaminating her estate. But let me tell you, my grandfather's irrigation kept up since '55 produces runoff cleaner than most folks' tap water. The organic certification alone is enough to make state inspectors break out in a cold sweat. But facts never mattered to Vivian. She wanted war. The real shot across the bow came when she accused me of using illegal pesticides, chemicals I've never even owned. Agricultural inspectors showed up expecting to find Chernobyl, and instead got 3 years of clean audits, water reports, and soil tests that would make a textbook blush. Inspector Martinez admitted mine was the cleanest operation he'd ever seen. But, bureaucracy being innocent doesn't mean you don't need a lawyer. And that cost me $2 grand that should have gone towards Sage's college fund. What made it worse was how she painted herself the hero protecting the rural community from dangerous industrial farming. She started a Facebook group posting pictures of my granddad's ancient John Deere, calling it heavy industrial machinery. Folks who'd eaten my tomatoes for decades stood by me. But the newer crowd, the ones who wanted sunsets and silence, not tractors at dawn, started mumbling. Maybe Reed's farm really is too much. Suddenly, I'm the villain in my own county. 2 weeks after I was cleared, Vivian tried again. This time she'd done her homework. County inspector shows up at 7:15 a.m., something about violating sound ordinances with excessive agricultural noise. Peterson, the inspector, felt sorry as he pulled out a decibel meter, and I handed him a file thick with proof of commercial sales taxes, state registrations, the whole 9 yards. His eyes nearly popped out of his head seeing how legit we are. "You're bona fide, Ag," he said, closing the folder with a smack. "This ordinance isn't worth a hill of beans out here." Then he asked how Vivian knew exactly when to file her complaints. Truth is, I'd been wondering the same thing. See, every time we did something big, new irrigation, soil testing, market days, she'd file a complaint before we even finished the job. That's when Sage, who'd clearly inherited her great-grandfather's suspicion, suggested we turn the tables. We set up trail cameras, just deer cams, nothing fancy. Within a week, we had footage of Vivian on patrol, 6 a.m., sharp binoculars out, snapping photos, jotting notes, building a dossier like she was with the FBI. Peterson took one look and said, This isn't normal neighbor behavior, this is harassment. Next day, 3 neighboring farmers showed up, Kowalski brothers and Martha Bennett, our local herb queen, coffee and bread in hand. Turns out Vivian wasn't just after me. She'd filed complaints on them too about bee activity, roadside stands, noise, you name it. We realized she was researching obscure laws, filing complaints to cause maximum disruption, playing the innocent victim the whole time. Martha said Vivian even asked if she planned to sell the land. When Martha said no, suddenly her bees became a public menace. It clicked. Vivian was making it so miserable we'd be forced to sell. Then came the water rights battle. Vivian brought in a state inspector claiming my irrigation was stealing her groundwater. But my granddad, God rest him, documented everything. We had permits, logs, maps from 1943 on. The Inspector Rodriguez left with enough proof to survive any legal challenge. Vivian cried, "I'm just a defenseless woman," but Rodriguez wasn't buying it. She wanted data, not drama. Vivian had nothing. But that wasn't the real kicker. Digging through old records, I discovered Vivian's land was financed by some shell company rural development partners. My granddad's paperwork revealed mineral rights worth millions, gas, rare earths, all of it. Vivian didn't want a quiet farm. She wanted a cheap buyout. And she wasn't acting alone. Her shell company had bought 17 farms across 3 states, always using the same playbook: buy next door, harass, force a sale, take the minerals. Labor Day weekend. Vivian hit below the belt, called the school, claimed my farm was unsafe for Sage, hinting at social services. I was furious, but Sage, she didn't blink. She brought out a notebook full of evidence photos, logs, social posts showing Vivian's pattern. She'd been plotting for weeks, stirring up fake community concern. It was all calculated. That's when I decided no more defense. It was time to take the fight to them. With help from our neighbors, local attorneys, and Commissioner Walsh, we built a coalition, pooled resources, shared evidence, and prepped for the zoning hearing Vivian had set up to finish us off. We dug deeper, linking every complaint to a broader corporate scheme by Marcellus Energy, a fracking giant who'd been hiding behind shell companies. The night before the hearing, Vivian tried sabotage, destroyed my irrigation pump, but my security cameras caught her red-handed pink jogging suit and all. When she tried blaming me to my insurance, the footage made her look like a clown. My neighbors rebuilt the pump by sundown, turning sabotage into a block party. Day of the hearing, Vivian's last trick was to call in a fake emergency: sirens, news vans, county inspectors. But Rodriguez, now with the state, sniffed out the setup in minutes and called it felony abuse of government resources. Reporters arrived expecting environmental catastrophe, but got a front row seat to a corporate scandal unraveling in real time. The courthouse was packed, farmers, media, every angry neighbor in the county. Vivian, flanked by big city lawyers, sat up front like she owned the place. Her attorney painted me as a threat to civilization itself. But when it was our turn, my lawyer laid out 6 months of evidence linking Vivian to a statewide harassment scheme funded by Marcellus. I stood, showed my badge: Pennsylvania State Police Agricultural Crimes Unit. Yeah, that's right. I'd been investigating undercover for months. The room exploded. Sheriff Morrison cuffed Vivian on the spot. An FBI agent arrived with warrants for Marcellus executives. 18 months in prison for Vivian, millions in fines for the corporation, and new state laws protecting every farm like mine. 6 months later, my farm's busier than ever. Sage got college scholarships for criminal justice. She might just out-investigate her old man one day. Our local ag community is thriving, stronger than before, with tougher laws and a legal defense fund for anyone targeted. My granddad's John Deere still fires up every dawn, but now it feels like a promise kept. But let's be real, every rural family, every community faces some version of this fight. So let's hear your stories. Drop a comment. Tell us about your HOA nightmare neighbor feud or big money threat. You never know who needs to hear they're not alone and who's ready to fight back right beside you. And if this tale got your blood pumping or reminded you why standing up matters, go ahead, smash that subscribe harder than Vivian smashed her own future. Next week, you'll hear how an HOA tried to evict a veteran and learn some wars aren't worth starting. Stay sharp, fight the good fight. Justice, friends, tastes even better than revenge.